Hey guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my August reading wrap-up. I normally wait until the very end of the month before filming this reading wrap-up, but I have a lot of videos that I need to kind of film in advance, so I'm going to cut the month just a little bit short by like a few days. So this is a slightly shorter reading wrap-up than I normally have, but I did finish 5 books, and I'm excited to talk about them with you guys. So first up, we have The Vine Witch by Luann G. Smith. This is the first book in a witch series I read last year, and I wanted to reread it so that I can continue on with the trilogy. This is about a vine witch that basically helps like a winery that runs kind of like in her family. She protects the grapes, puts spells on it, gets rid of like magical creatures and all kinds of things. Something happens to her. She winds up being gone from the winery for a while and then coming back to it. And then there is a stranger now kind of in charge and helping out like her grandma. It's a whole thing. It starts off very different than it ends. I really enjoy this book. It's super atmospheric. If you love like food and wine and nature, it has all of that goodness in there. It's got magical spells. We've got some romance. We've got like all the fall vibes, so I really love this one, especially for this time of year, and I'm excited to continue on with the second one. So I gave this one 4 stars again upon rereading. Then I read the Aeon Chronicles by April M. Woodard. This is a self-published book that was sent to me by my friend JJ, who's friends with April. This is the first in Dystopian Angel series. So I will say sometimes I struggle with self-published books, not because you can't self-publish a book that's good, but anyone can self-publish a book, so it's harder to kind of find the ones that are better, if that makes sense. This one I thought was really excellent for the most part. Like the writing was really good, the editing was really good. I listened to this on audiobook. The narrator was fantastic. I believe you can find the audio on Audible. I really liked the overall story. We've got kind of a dystopian style world, kind of like the beginning of time. We're following some angels, fallen angels, Nephilim. We're getting a lot of background on them. The only thing I didn't love about it that I kind of wanted to make note of was that it has a little bit more of like a religious Christian vibe to it. I know it's an angel book, so we're going to have that background in there because we've got the fallen angels and the stories of all that kind of stuff. But there were just some little moral things that were in here that I didn't personally like super love, like for the whole story as a whole. But I still think it's worth reading, and I really did enjoy the story. I'm curious to see where it goes from here. If you do like Christian stories, you'll absolutely love this one. But I just kind of wanted to make note of that for those of you that might not be your favorite thing. But I would definitely still give it a shot because I really enjoyed it, and I probably will read the second one. So I wound up giving this one about like a 3.75 star. Then I physically read Siren by Trisha Rayburn. This again was a reread for me. I wanted to reread this book to continue on with the trilogy. This is one of my all-time favorite mermaid books. It's set in like a seaside town following a main character who is kind of hanging out in her seaside town like vacation home, trying to figure out what happened to her sister who killed herself because she doesn't believe that she would have killed herself. She thinks something else is happening, and she's trying to uncover all this mysteries and talking with her ex-boyfriend and all kinds of things. And there is mermaidy siren magic in here and a little bit of witchiness too. I really loved it. I feel like this one would be good for the fall as well. It has a really cozy, atmospheric, like almost spooky vibe, but not spooky. I just really like the main character. I like the romances that are kind of in here, friendships and the background and all that stuff. I enjoyed this way more upon rereading it than I did reading it the first time, which I really enjoyed. The ending also has a tiny bit of a cliffhanger, which I really loved. So upon rereading, I wound up giving this one about 4.5 stars. Then I read Defy the Worlds by Claudia Gray via audiobook. This one is the second in a sci-fi trilogy. I read the first book for Galaxy-a-thon, which was earlier this year. I'll link that video up in the cards. And I really loved this second book, like almost more than the first one. So I can't say too much about this one, but this is basically about an android boy and a human girl that have to team up together to be on a mission in space. And there's a lot more detail to it than that. There's some really good world building. There's a little bit of dystopianness, lots of technology, but not too hard to follow. It's just overall a really fun trilogy. I'm finishing the 3rd book right now. I just didn't get it done in time to film this video, but I am loving this series overall. So this one was 4 stars for me, as well as the first one. Then lastly, I finished Heart Forager by Ren Chepeko. Again, this is the second in this series. I'm really trying to knock off some series before the end of the year. So this is in the Bone Witch series, so I'll talk to you about that. So we're following our main character Tia, and she is a bone witch, and she basically has to learn how to use her powers and her abilities, and she goes to school to do this, and it's in this fantastical world with like royalty, and there's almost like geisha training because she also has to learn how to like dance and talk to people and be charming, but then she learns all this like dark magic as well. This is a very heavily detailed world. It is very in-depth. There is romance, there is sibling love, there is royalty, there is drama. It's just a tiny bit spooky, but not really. It's just got some like darker themes, and I absolutely am loving it. The second book I think I loved even more than the first book. It's so good. But the one thing I will say, I did this on audio, which I think is fine, but just make sure that you really pay attention because there are a lot of details and you're following two timelines in here. You're going back and forth between two different timelines, and so you, especially with the audio, you want to make sure you're paying attention so you remember which timeline that you're in. But I think this series is highly underrated. It's going to be one of my favorites of the year, and I would definitely recommend checking out the first one. I'm going to try and finish this series in September. That is it for my August reading wrap up. Let me know what you guys read down below in the comments. I will link my September TBR up here in the cards so you guys can see what I'm kind of checking out for September. Be sure and follow me on Instagram at @thebrightsidegirl for more reading and other fun updates, and I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side. Bye!